We were informed that it was over. The hotel clip, they claimed, was the last one. However, what took place in that courtroom? No one was prepared for that. Chrissy refrained from crying. She didn't refute it. She gave the judge a direct glance before uttering the words that caused everyone in the room to gasp. It wasn't an isolated incident. Cameron had captured my heart. Silence. Jim merely stared at her as if he were observing, not blinking or moving. A stranger wears the skin of his fiancée. Mama Jones let out a scream. The judge let go of his pen, and Cameron, reclining in the corner with his arms folded as if he already knew what she would say. It wasn't a leak. It wasn't reality television. It was a bomb. Chrissy herself pulled the pin. No second take, no script, and no cameras. Simply the dirty, unvarnished realities of the courtroom. And then what happened? A locked email thread, 2 additional clips, and a voicemail in which Chrissy pleads with Mona Scott to make the video vanishes. However, the truth isn't just out. It's playing in 4K, so it's too late now. And believe me, everything you believed is altered by what she reveals next. New. Let's go back to the courtroom. Back to the instant Chrissy got to her feet, her hands shaking, her lips quivering, her mascara smudged, and the world came to a halt. She had just been asked a straightforward question by the court. Before we move forward with the evidence, Miss Lampin, under oath, is there anything else you would like to reveal? Nobody anticipated that she would say not even her own attorney. However, Chrissy adjusted the microphone, cleared her voice, turned to face Jim, and made a confession that was so unvarnished and unexpected that it immobilized half the room. It was more than just sentimental. It wasn't merely an error. Cameron and I were dating. A relationship, not a fling or a hookup. A full-fledged behind-the-scenes connection that involves late-night voicemails, burner phones, and deleting those texts. She spoke as though she had finished hiding, as if the guilt had already consumed everything else and was no longer consuming her. He remained silent, Jim. He simply sat there as if the man had been completely disconnected. He was Jim Jones, the Harlem Kingpin, the legendary Dipset, the devoted ride or pass away. The next, the lady he had built an entire brand on was cooking him in a courtroom. A pin could be heard dropping. The court clerk, too, appeared to have seen a ghost. Cameron was seated 2 seats behind, wearing sunglasses indoors and tilting his head slightly as if he anticipated this moment. Because he might have. Because perhaps this was always the idea. Let's not act as though this happened overnight. The indicators were present. The USB clip camera was the latest to fall. Month, that was more than a preview. That was a war declaration. At 9:13 p.m., Chrissy in a hoodie sneaks inside the Marin Hotel, Reggie unlocking the door. Glasses of wine, slow tunes. Suffocating in another person's life is a topic of pillow talk. However, what caused the internet to lose the images weren't in its head. The voice was the cause. Jim still thinks I met my cousins. He's so easy, Chrissy's voice said. In the present day, we find out that it wasn't even Reggie who was in the motel. Cameron was that. Yes, give that some thought. Jim's former buddy and Dippet brother Cam, who once raised a glass during their engagement meal. Chrissy simply told everyone that she was with him while sitting on the stand. There was no explosion in the courtroom. It became frozen. Mama Jones got to her feet so quickly that security had to hold both of her arms. She was shouting wildly, "You are a snake. You are a snake. My son was devastated by you." Chrissy remained unflinching. She didn't weep at all. She appeared worn out, not depressed. "I'm not sorry. Completed." She informed the judge that she was ready to present her own proof. Screenshots, trip records, and images from burner phones to verify that everything Cam had previously disclosed was really the tip of the iceberg. It was what she referred to as incomplete truth, as if she was at last prepared to share this tale. At that point, Jim's attorney, who had remained silent the entire time, jumped up, leaned over the microphone, and declared, "Your Honor, based on this new admission, we'd like to submit an instant petition for fraud, emotional abuse, and brand sabotage. Sabotage of a brand. Let's discuss that." This was more than just a scandal involving infidelity. This was a commercial collapse, as the Jim and Chrissy machine wasn't only based on love. It was made profitable. Spin-offs, merchandise, podcast appearances, brand deals, VH1 specials, and wedding rumors they sold out like tickets for interviews. And now everything is falling apart. Why? As the foundation was fraudulent, due to the fact that the woman Jim phoned his day one was communicating confidential information to his opponent while testifying in court on television. How did we get here then? According to insiders, Reggie wasn't the first. Didn't begin with Cam. Resentment was the beginning of it. Word has it that Chrissy felt excluded. She desired greater authority over the story and the brand. Cam reappeared after she allegedly told producers, "I'm not here to be his accessory. I'm building mine." Now, whether you think that Chrissy's relationship with Cameron wasn't a one-time rebound, whether it was retaliation, solace, or simply a chance, court documents state that Chrissy reportedly met Cam in private on 8 different occasions over a 2-year period. Unregistered dinner bookings, private flights, hotel check-ins, and that USB. That was only the first clip. Cam's legal team now claims to have 2 additional videos in addition to a Chrissy phones Mona Scott directly in a recorded voicemail saying, "Cam can't know. He'll use it. Please just make sure the footage is wiped. Oh, and remember that Cam also leaked that." You're undoubtedly wondering, where's Jim in all this? He hasn't said anything in public, but his quiet was audible inside the courtroom. Witnesses claim that his hands were trembling beneath the table, that his attorney gave him a stress ball, and that he didn't look Chrissy in the eye once during her testimony. Because really, how could he? This goes beyond simple treachery. Surgical heartbreak is what this is. This is discovering that your girlfriend has turned into your worst enemy. That the secrets she wouldn't even divulge were kept by the man you once traveled with at home. The world is now aware of this. But wait. The judge inquired if anyone else had anything to offer, just as Chrissy's testimony was coming to an end. Recess? And guess who got to their feet? Cameron's attorney, clutching a brown binder. He moved forward and uttered 7 words that caused everyone in the once more. The room freezes. "We have additional material, but it is dated." Cameron's attorney remained silent. He didn't have to. It only took those 7 words to flip. The energy in the courtroom is like a light switch. "We have additional material, but it is dated." The judge remained motionless. Calmly, he said, "Submit it to the clerk," but you could hear his throat stiffen with tension. The bailiff approached the bench as if he were walking a bomb. Perhaps he was, because everyone saw this wasn't simply a case when the judge received the folder. No longer a sideshow. It was a demolition. Chrissy's appearance abruptly changed. A tiny break appeared in that expressionless gaze. Her mouth quirked. As if she already knew what was inside that package, her gaze fell to the ground. Because it's possible that she recalled her words from the tape. The judge took out a USB after opening the folder. "I want this played now." "No delays," he remarked, glancing at both legal teams. Cam's attorney agreed. Jim's attorney did not oppose. But frantically, Chrissy's lawyer was whispering quickly in her ear. All she did was shake her head. "No, it's okay," she replied. "Let it go wild." The screen was lowered. The projector was turned on. And then what happened? Quiet. Next, static. Chrissy in a studio trailer followed. Wrapped hair. No cosmetics. Seated next to someone off camera. "Calm down." Her voice was sharp, honest, and exhausted. "I'm not stupid." She responds, "I know Jim's loyal." However, loyalty doesn't make boredom go away. "I get a feeling from Cam. Mona is aware that I'm out if this leaks." Off camera, the other voice answers. "Yandandi Smith is here. You're playing with fire, girl. Cam despises him, as you are aware. You are apprehended." It's more than a controversy. It's conflict. Chrissy says that after taking a taste of her drink. The line that tore a hole in the court, "I've already been caught once. I'll be honest the next time, but I talked my way out." The screen darkens. The court becomes immobile. Jim remains motionless. The attorney seemed to have had his oxygen taken away from him. Mama Jones was crying and the judge was silent. Mama Jones was crying and the judge was silent. Not the ferocious, irate type from earlier. This was distinct. It was heartbreaking. She muttered to herself. She was aware. She was aware of herself. Carrying out, With her hands folded and her face expressionless, Chrissy appeared to have already come to terms with her role in the narrative. However, the judge turned to face her and inquired, "Manon, are you speaking in this video?" She said, giving one nod. "Yes, sir," he repeated. "And this is from a love and hip-hop trailer on set, unedited?" "Yes," she replied, stated, this time without hesitation. The judge then turned to face VH1's legal representative, who was in the room at that point, sweating, scribbling, and whispering into phones. Why was this footage not submitted in the initial subpoena request? The VH1 attorney stammered. "A crew member recorded it off schedule, and we had no idea it existed." The judge arched an eyebrow and said, "It wasn't logged into our system. However, it is evident that Ms. Lannon and Ms. Smith are talking about the possible consequences of content leaks, and both of them admit its existence." Quiet. Everyone could feel the walls closing in. Cameron is still observing it. Was a program that he developed as an executive. Jim remained still. Chrissy remained motionless in silent surrender. The real kicker arrived next. Cam's attorney got back up. "Your Honor, one more thing. This is a voicemail dated 2 weeks prior to that footage sent by Ms. Lampin to Ms. Webb," he stated. "A file was played," said Scott Young. Once more, Chrissy's terrified, hushed voice. "Mona, I warned you that the entire season would be ruined if Jim found out. Cam, I need you to take care of that room footage. He'll utilize it." "I can't know either." Reggie vowed it was erased. "You made a commitment." The courtroom went crazy. Whispers and gasps. In the gallery, a man actually got up and yelled. Mona was a fixer for her. The gavel was lambasted by the judge. The court's order. It took 3 minutes to restore everyone's composure. And by the time they arrived, the harm was already done. Cheating was no longer the only issue. This was a production manipulation and cover-up. An effort to obliterate evidence during an ongoing legal issue. Jim got up after VH1's attorney appeared to be witnessing his career come to life. Nobody anticipated it. His attorney attempted to stop him, but he dismissed him. He gave Chrissy a direct glance. They all held their breath, took 3 steps nearer and whispered to her. Was any of it real? Like smoke, the query lingered in the atmosphere. Chrissy opened her mouth. She looked down after blinking. Didn't say anything. That quiet was louder than a smack. After giving one nod, Jim turned, went back to the table, and took a seat. Something was whispered in his ear by his attorney. Jim did not flinch or respond. Abruptly, he produced a document and gave it to his attorney. The attorney got to his feet. "Mr. Jones, Your Honor, would want to file a countersuit against Miss Lampkin for trademark fraud, deliberate dishonesty, and emotional pain." "You're filing now?" the judge asked, seeming astonished. "Yes, today," the attorney said, but the courtroom wasn't finished delivering. Twists because a clerk entered with a sealed envelope just as the court was about to take a break for recess. "From Homeland Security," he muttered. The courtroom was now disorganized. Homeland. It was unsealed by the judge. Silently read it, then raise your head. Make a very serious face. This court has been notified that Ms. Lampkin is being looked into for obstruction in relation to a charity fraud case that is still pending and is connected to the video that was discussed in earlier sessions. Chrissy's lawyer leaped to his feet. A protest. "This is not relevant to this situation." The judge would not have it. "We'll take a half-hour break, but we'll deal with this mess." Total mayhem. It appeared as though Mona Scott's squad was prepared to disappear. The representative for VH1 began gathering documents as if they were going to be subpoenaed. Themselves. Cam simply grinned as this was no longer about Jim. This was larger. One confession at a time, this was the slow-motion eruption of a whole brand. Additionally, the brown folder with additional footage written on it was still not empty. Because Cam's attorney turned over one last item, a text log from a burner phone that belonged to Reggie, as the judge rose up and adjourned the proceedings. "If the clip drops, she'll deny it, but I'm done protecting her. Let Cam have it. Let them all," she wrote in the final text on the site. People didn't leave the courtroom during recess. Instead, they paced, murmured, and gazed at Chrissy as if she were a reality TV villain who had just emerged. The 30 minutes felt like 3 hours. Jim Jones ignored everyone, including the court, the press, and Mama Jones, who was sitting behind him and holding a tissue as if it were her final warning. Sanity, but Cam just sat there, cold, silent, lethal, as if he knew the credits were going to roll and his name would be the final one on screen. He didn't blink, shift, or speak. The judge returned, put down his papers, and didn't waste any time. The court will now consider the last item filed. The tension was so high that it seemed as though sound could not pass through. She replied, "If the clip drops, she'll deny it, but I'm done protecting her." As he slowly perused the text log that had been acquired from a burner phone connected to the person named Reggie. "Give it to Cam, let them all burn." The second message then arrived. The internet hadn't seen it. Chrissy had one thought that would never come to light. She made Jim envious by using me. Dipset was done, she said, and for once she wanted to feel strong. Claimed that Cam handled treating her like a queen. I was merely the front, gasping. In fact, a woman in the second row had her hands over her mouth. Once more, Mama Jones cracked, saying, "Oh my God," she said to herself, and Chrissy said nothing. No denial, no tears, no outburst. The judge gave her a direct look. She nodded once and said, "Manine, are you aware of these messages?" "I am now." "Do you deny their content?" She replied, "No." That's when Jim's lawyer stood again. "Your Honor, with your permission, we would also like to submit a contract signed by both Mr. Jones and Miss Lannon," she said after pausing and closing her eyes, describing the co-ownership of their planned Netflix documentary series. This contract contains exclusivity requirements, emotional representation rules, and brand equity clauses that we now feel were broken. The judge said that if that contract was genuine and Chrissy violated the provisions of a show that was supposed to be about their eternal love, then this was legal sabotage rather than merely emotional warfare. Skimmed the contract and posed one query. "Ms. Lampkin, did you work with Mr. Cameron or Mr. Giles during the development and promotion of this series?" Chrissy inhaled deeply before uttering the words that made the entire trial historic. "Yes, I was." And I knew if Jim found out, it would all fall apart. The affair with Cameron began before the series was proposed, before the trailer, before the reunion special, and that was it. No more rumors, no more hazy footage, no more theories, straight from her mouth. She lied on tape in court, sobbed about wanting to grow together, and once told a man, "Chrissy saved my life." Jim remained motionless and unresponsive. "I knew it," he said in a whisper. "To no one in particular," he said before leaving. There was no security, no publicist, no statement, just a man leaving the ruins of a life he believed to be genuine. The court ordered a 5-minute break, but it was already too late for VH1, as Chrissy's full sponsors began bailing out as soon as the confession hit the media. Emails leaked and screenshots of producers' internal group chats appeared online. One message read, "Mona's ghosting everyone. I believe she's finished." Another said, "We're looking at class action lawsuits if this footage goes live." The knockout followed, according to a former VH1 editor. Anonymously, "You're not getting it." This was more than a performance. This anguish was contrived. For the sake of camera angles and Chrissy, they convinced Jim that love exists. Played along until she was no longer required to. The SARS Chrissy confession hashtag reached 7 million views by dusk. TikTok was inundated with clips of her testimony. Accompanied by melancholic music, jerky cuts, and captions such as, "She wanted fame." The same night, Cam went live in a black hoodie with very little lighting because he wanted eternity. Just one sentence. "I informed you that she wasn't constructed for him." After that, he logged off. The clip accumulated 3. In less than an hour, 2 million views were received. At last, Mona Scott brokered to his phrase press release while remaining silent. I had no idea what Miss Lampkins was doing behind the scenes. Going forward, I will assist with all legal inquiries. However, nobody took her seriously since now interns, assistants, and producers were coming out of the woodwork, leaking emails, pouring tea, and exposing scenes that had been erased. A single scene in specific. "Chrissy point blank, do you still love me?" Jim asks in a trimmed clip from the Netflix series, and she answers more than anything. Fans now are claiming that after saying it, she looked to the left as if she was looking for a cue, as if it weren't real. Even worse, the episode's editor acknowledged that they omitted the next sentence. Chrissy had stopped and muttered something. "I think that's sufficient for now, camera." Everything was altered by that one sentence. All of a sudden, the romantic tale that characterized VH1's Ride or Die branding was nothing more than a skillfully edited fabrication. Jim has reportedly taken offline entirely. He is not doing interviews, according to a statement released by his team. His priorities are therapy, healing, and preserving his remaining tranquility. Chrissy hasn't said anything. The night following the verdict, there was just one silent Instagram story with a black background and white text. No postings, no press, no denial. It stated, "The internet was not amused by the idea that you could love someone and still break them." Comments poured in. "Remove this. Jim was deserving of better. Cam took advantage of you? You gave him permission, along with Cam." According to reports, he has a distribution agreement for a documentary series titled The Footage They Tried to Bury. There is only one shot in the teaser trailer. Chrissy's expression, mid-sentence frozen. "Jim is going to leave me if this gets out," they said. Cut to black. Cam's voice. "I discovered it. The trailer has ended. Next month, the entire series will be released." And VH1 remained mute as the court heard more than just a confession. The entire globe did. The show is currently unwatched. They are observing the consequences. Thus, was any of it ever real? That's the only question left, because ultimately, no reality TV program may write a storyline like this. Heartache. You cannot be saved by a producer. From the receipts. The narrative is finished. The brand has died. And the truth is revealed. Forever now. Forever now.